over $3,000 a year in additional health costs. But you at the EPA no longer use the same measure to quantify the health benefits of proposed air pollution regulations as you do to calculate the cost to industry. So, Mr. Administrator, why are you no longer considering the cost of pollution to a child's health when you consider the benefits of air pollution regulations? You're considering the costs to industry. Why are you not using the same measure to quantify the benefits to a kid's health?
So, for one, we inherited a level of concern from the Science Advisory Board with regards to the modeling that was used, that the modeling be updated, and that it was a misleading number to just set an arbitrary dollar amount as it relates to PM 2.5 and ozone. This is not unprecedented. The Biden administration did the same exact thing when they're going through the Quad OBC regulations. We are factoring in the impacts. We did not stop factoring the impacts. That's one of the other things that have been inaccurately reported, and we will continue to do so. And as we update the modeling, working with our dedicated career scientists at EPA, rather than setting an arbitrary number to it, we look forward to being able to put a number to it that has the support of the Science Advisory Board and the scientific community.
So, America First Voice is back with another hard-hitting reaction. Today, we're reacting to this Senate Appropriations Committee hearing where Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen aggressively questions EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin on public health regulations, specifically pressing him on the value of a life in cost-benefit analyses. Let me tell you, patriots, this exchange perfectly reveals the radical left's approach to environmental policy versus the practical, pro-American leadership we need under President Trump. If you believe EPA decisions should be based on sound science, real economic impacts, and putting American workers and families first instead of endless radical regulations, smash that like button right now and subscribe. Let's dive in. Senator Van Hollen tries to corner Administrator Zeldin by asking him to put a dollar figure on the value of a human life when evaluating public health rules. Zeldin responds measuredly, defending the need for balanced, data-driven decision-making rather than using emotional appeals as a blank check for unlimited regulation. The back-and-forth highlights the fundamental tension. Democrats want to weaponize saving lives to justify any regulation no matter the cost, while Zeldin focuses on realistic trade-offs, economic reality, and actual environmental progress without destroying American industry and jobs. Here's my unfiltered take as a right-wing patriot and constitutional conservative.
And I will return Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and welcome, Administrator Zeldin. We agreed last year on the importance of the Chesapeake Bay program, and I'm glad to see your budget provides almost existing levels of funding. There are big Bay-related funding gaps in other federal agencies that are part of the Bay program, and I look forward to working with the Chair and Ranking Member to close those gaps. But on the Bay, Mr. Administrator, I think you would agree that the EPA Bay program works best when EPA acts as a trusted partner to the watershed states and key stakeholders and organizations. So, and this is a simple question, can you commit to making sure that happens, that we have that trusted working relationship?
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Now, I do want to turn to a more troubling topic, and I want to talk about the administration's disregard for scientific facts as you develop policy at the EPA. At your confirmation hearing, you said, and I'm quoting, "I am someone who believes strongly that we should work with the scientists, leaving the science to the scientists," unquote. But this administration has driven hundreds of scientists out of EPA. You dissolved your agency's main science office. You fired the agency's top science advisors without cause. And now this budget request proposes a whopping 30% cut to the EPA science and technology account, which includes funding related to air quality management, which leads me to a question about science and public health, because I heard you as I was coming to the hearing about how EPA's mission is protecting, first and foremost, the public health and the environment, and I agree. Would you agree, Mr. Administrator, that air pollution, like particulate matter, can have a harmful impact on the public health?
Yes.
Do you know how much it costs a family when their kid has asthma?
It depends on whether or not they have health coverage. It depends on the severity, what the treatment is, where they live in the country, where the available providers are. It varies from one family to the next.
Well, CDC, another federal agency, was able to do the calculation on average. Obviously, there are differences in terms of the intensity of asthma, but I don't think you would dispute the fact that it imposes costs on families. And according to CDC, it costs a family over $3,000 a year in additional health costs. But you at the APA no longer use the same measure to quantify the health benefits of proposed air pollution regulations as you do to calculate the cost to industry. So, Mr. Administrator, why are you no longer considering the cost of pollution to a child's health when you consider the benefits of air pollution regulations? You're considering the costs to industry. Why are you not using the same measure to quantify the benefits to a kid's health?
So, for one, we inherited a level of concern from the Science Advisory Board with regards to the modeling that was used, that the modeling be updated, and that it was a misleading number to just set an arbitrary dollar amount as it relates to PM 2.5 and ozone. This is not unprecedented. The Biden administration did the same exact thing when they're going through the Quad OBC regulations. We are factoring in the impacts. We did not stop factoring the impacts. That's one of the other things that have been inaccurately reported, and we will continue to do so. And as we update the modeling, working with our dedicated career scientists at EPA, rather than setting an arbitrary number to it, we look forward to being able to put a number to it that has the support of the Science Advisory Board and the scientific community.
So, Mr. Administrator, I want to make sure I'm understanding you, because I think you would agree that in order to do a cost-benefit analysis, you have to compare apples to apples. That is why we have worked over many administrations. I heard you referring to the Biden-era stuff.
Right.
And the reason is pretty straightforward, as you know. It's because you need some measure, the cost to industry of your proposed regulation, but also the savings to the public health when you propose a regulation. And you've got to compare apples. So let me just make sure I understand you. Let me make sure I understand you.
Okay.
You are striving to move to what you're calling a better proposal, but you are going to look at the dollar impact to public health and compare that to the dollar cost for industry?
We currently review the impacts.
But I'm asking you how. I mean, I know you used to look at the impact on public health, Mr. Administrator, and say, this is going to cost this family who has a kid with asthma $3,000 more, and so if we implement this regulation, we're going to help that family. If you say you're going to calculate it, I'd like to know how, because you've thrown out.
We calculate the emissions reductions. We calculate the cost of achieving reductions.
How?
So we have dedicated career scientists who work on this.
But how do you measure that and then compare it?
You can't
to the
put
cost?
so like what's the value of a life to you? And I'm not trying to ask you a trick question, but that's what the problem from the scientific community.
Yeah.
Is that the modeling that they were using, the scientific community said to me, to EPA, that instead of having an arbitrary number that's misleading the public, that you need to improve the modeling.
Yeah.
So we can continue to factor in the impact, but the monetization of it, we're not going to put an arbitrary dollar amount. And again, not a novel concept. This is exactly what happened with the Biden administration as well.
Mr. Administrator, you keep saying arbitrary. The cost to a kid's health from asthma
No, the number
is not
the number
arbitrary.
is. How much would you say is the value of a life?
You know, those
That's the problem that science is having right now. They're trying to figure out what the exact number is to utilize.
I know you want to jump to the big question about the value of life. I'm talking about the cost.
But that's what you're asking.
No, I'm talking about the cost to a family of a kid who has asthma, and then you pass a regulation to make sure they don't get asthma or don't get it aggravated. You can do those costs. It's not arbitrary.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's make sure that we get to that where we can compare apples to apples.
That's not the hard part.
Because you guys have been putting your...
The hard part is monetizing the value of a life.
Well, look...
Precisely, exactly what the value of a life is.
So you're willing to monetize the cost to health, like a kid who has asthma.
We're monetizing what you can monetize. The science community is saying that the modeling that EPA was using to monetize the cost of life they are saying was arbitrary. The Science Advisory Board saying you need to fix your modeling. So we're working on fixing the modeling. If you'd like to help participate in that, then you're more than welcome to as a senator and a member.
I would welcome that.
But what you can put a price to, that's easy. That's the easy part. The hard part is, and you haven't been able to answer it, and that's okay. If I asked every member of this committee, what is the value, what is the dollar amount that you put to a life, it's possible every member of this committee would give a different number.
Well,
and I understand
here's the thing.
but we have to come up with.
I already told you what the CDC, a federal agency, says the additional cost to a family is of a kid who has asthma. They say it's over $3,000.
You started off your remarks by saying that I should be listening to the dedicated career staffers at the agency, and now you're telling me that I shouldn't.
No, we have
the dedicated career
staff in the government,
exactly.
The guys who do the costing of public health or the CDC.
Yeah.
So look, Mr. Administrator, you guys did clean house of a lot of scientists. I mean, there's ample evidence of that. I think you got rid of the board that I think you're citing now.
We reset it, and it's reset. Right now, the Science Advisory Board has stood up.
Yeah.
The members have been selected. By the way, it's the same exact thing that the Biden administration did, and you didn't care.
This is not the same exact thing because you have, as I understand it, you have abandoned the idea across the board of using a common measure.
That's not true.
Okay. Well,
it's only PM 2.5 and ozone.
Okay.
Specifically with regards to the monetization
just
of
those
life.
Two,
that's
just
it.
those two.
That's
okay.
it.
I look forward to following up with you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Lee Zeldin is handling this exactly right. The EPA under previous administrations became a tool for radical environmental activists to impose crushing regulations that hurt American energy production, manufacturing, and working families. Zeldin's emphasis on rigorous cost-benefit analysis, scientific integrity, and practical outcomes is a breath of fresh air. Every life has infinite value, but government policy must make honest trade-offs. You cannot justify shutting down power plants, raising energy costs for the poor, and shipping jobs to China under the banner of public health without honest accounting of the human and economic costs. As a patriot, I strongly support Administrator Zeldin's approach. America First environmental policy means cleaner air and water achieved through American innovation, technology, and abundance, not by crippling our economy with unattainable net zero mandates that make us dependent on dirty coal from China. We can protect the environment without the Green New Deal's job-killing agenda. Senator Van Hollen's line of questioning is classic leftist emotional manipulation. They love to frame every regulation as saving lives, while ignoring the lives harmed by higher energy prices, lost jobs, and increased poverty. Real public health includes affordable energy, good jobs, and economic opportunity, all of which are undermined by extreme environmental rules. Deeper opinion as a right-wing patriot. The EPA has a legitimate role in protecting air and water quality, but it has been weaponized for far too long. Under Trump and Zeldin, we're seeing a return to common sense, rolling back excessive rules, promoting all of the above American energy, oil, gas, nuclear, clean coal, streamlining permitting, and focusing on measurable improvements instead of virtue signaling regulations that hurt the poorest Americans the most. Economic growth and environmental stewardship are not enemies. History shows that prosperous nations with abundant, affordable energy deliver better environmental outcomes than poor nations with heavy-handed government control. American families with good-paying jobs and cheap energy can afford cleaner technologies and conservation efforts. When energy prices skyrocket due to bad policy, the vulnerable suffer most. This hearing exposes the clear divide. Democrats want more top-down control and spending justified by emotional appeals. Patriots want balance, prosperity, innovation, and real results that strengthen our nation. Patriots, Lee Zeldin is fighting for practical, pro-American environmental policy. Support him and the Trump administration as they roll back radical regulations and promote American strength and abundance. Demand science-based, cost-effective rules, not ideological crusades that hurt our people and empower our adversaries. If this hearing fired you up like it did me, comment below, Should EPA rules be based on honest cost-benefit analysis? Do you support all of the above American energy? What's your take on using value of a life in policy debates? Smash like if you stand with Lee Zeldin and America First environmental and energy policy. Subscribe, hit the bell, and share with every patriot. We need energy dominance, regulatory reform, secure borders, and an unapologetic America First agenda. Stay vigilant. Stay prosperous. God bless Administrator Lee Zeldin. God bless President Trump. And God bless the United States of America, the greatest nation on earth.